And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever the hell time it is. We have an extra hour to sleep, although I am here live streaming on November 7th, 2021. It's a Sunday. For those of you who are fall back in terms of the clock, enjoy your extra hour of sleep. If you're here now, good morning. Welcome to the live stream. It's been a while. I took a little bit of a hiatus on the live show because I needed to catch up on these reviews and recharge the batteries a little bit. But we are back, and I wanted to make sure I did a live stream to update you on what's been going on the channel. I have my review, which I dropped yesterday, my 30-day review, approximately 30-day review of the Surface Pro 8. It's doing very well. It seems like there's a lot of interest in that device. I have that here, as you see here. And of course, I have the MacBook Pro 16 with the M1 Pro. I did my unboxing and first look review on that one, and I still have to do my full review on that one. I did a poll, by the way, for that one. Do you want to see a full review from me on that one? Because the unboxing video did terrible. I don't think I even got 5,000 views on that. It just tanked. So not sure if there's interest, but I did do a poll in the chat. So if you head on over to the poll, it's a simple question. Should I do a full review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro? And 64% of you said yes, and 36% said no. So we have 22 votes in already. So we'll check back on that poll as the live stream goes on. Let's say hello to a few people, and let's get this thing started. That's how we do that. What do you say? All right. So we got our good moderator, Rafael Perez. Yes, I'm looking forward to this live stream. I took a little bit of a hiatus. I'm ready to rock and roll today. Good to see Parsa Say. Can't wait for another live stream. We're here. We're doing it. Daniel Talebi, really looking forward to the in-depth review of the P1. I did do that mobile workstation. That's the third laptop that we're going to talk about today, and I'm liking it. It's very interesting in contrast to the X1 Extreme Gen 4. There are some differences between the two. We'll talk about it today. And then nice to see you too, Constantine. I'm glad you're here today. And of course, Handquake with a really good question here. Should he replace his Surface Book 3's batteries for $702 directly from Microsoft? He likes that form factor, the Surface Book 3. And with Android coming, is it worth it? Well, I think if I had to choose between a Surface Book 3 and say it's sort of replacement, which I would say is the Surface Laptop Studio, I would go with the Surface Book 3. And if you are tied to that, and it really is an expensive device if you have to replace it, so it might be worth it to go for that $702. Good to see William here. Let's start off this month by hitting the like button. Yeah, and I appreciate that, William. Yeah, people hit that like button. Let's get this spread out over YouTube. I see we already have 12 likes. We got almost 40 people watching, 38. So I expect more people as the stream unfolds here. Do you think I should upgrade the Commodore 64 to the new M1 Pro? No, I think that would be a downgrade. I think that Commodore 64 has a special place in our hearts. So no, that would be that's one I wouldn't do. That is just a definite downgrade in every sense of the word. Okay. Prism Cool. I'm excited to see the Surface Pro 8, this live stream. I'm thinking about buying the device for school and art stuff. Yeah, a lot of, not surprisingly, the Surface devices usually, especially the Pro line, does well on my channel. So I'm not surprised by the reception it's gotten so far with the unboxing video, which I think I'm pushing 40,000 views already. And the full review, the 30-day full review that I dropped yesterday, is already over 6,000 views and climbing. It seems like the interest is there. I'm getting a lot of YouTube search results there. So that means people are looking for it and they're coming to my channel. Last I checked, I was #1 in terms of the search for the term Surface Pro 8. So that is a good sign. Now, in contrast with the MacBook Pro that I did, and you can sort of see it over here, and we'll bring it in a moment. But the MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro chip, 16-inch, didn't do well on this channel. It tanked. It got less than 5,000 views, which I shouldn't be surprised. I always get burned by Apple in a sense because every time I think, all right, I'll review something from them, It never does well on my channel, and it's just the way it is. Now, will it replace my 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, which I have here, which I'm live streaming from? And the answer is probably not. And the reason being is pretty much the reason I had to stay away from the M1s from late last year that came out with the Air and the Pro, because of driver issues and because of compatibility in certain plugins for Final Cut Pro, and just not working for me 100%. So I don't think I'll be making the switch right now. And that might change later on, I don't know. Plus, I am starting to use more DaVinci Resolve with my XPS 15 9510 with that gorgeous OLED display. I'm absolutely loving it. So I may be starting to do more and more DaVinci Resolve on the Windows side of things, because I love the color grading that I can get, especially with the camera that I have, which is the Pocket Cinema 6K Pro from Blackmagic. So it all works well. It's tied in well. Blackmagic makes DaVinci Resolve, so it works well. And according to Michael Cochran, the problem with the Studio is you can basically mimic a lot of that functionality with a $50 case. Yeah. No, probably, yeah. The problem with the Studio, and I think it's a missed opportunity, and I like the device, don't get me wrong, but I do have some issues with that hinge. I think it could have been a friction hinge like we saw with the Acer Concept D with the easel. And I love that form factor, especially because you had that friction hinge, which allows you to get a proper viewing angle. It would stay in different stops. This had only limited amount of stops due to that loose hinge. Now, it's an engineering issue, I'm sure, that they had to compromise on, maybe, I don't know, but it just took away from that form factor, I think. And I just didn't find that it was a compelling enough over the Surface Book 3, for instance, that Handquake has and it wants to update. But you know, the Surface Laptop Studio to me was a very much a first generation product for them in a sense. So we'll see. We'll see if the next iteration, if there is one, will do better in terms of that hinge, because I think it all turns on that. I like the idea. I just think the execution could have been better. Well, according to William, with the MacBook Pro, it goes to show you they don't make them like they used to. Well, the MacBook Pro, and I can show you here, and we'll talk. We'll just bounce around a little bit, and then we'll focus on one or two devices, of course. If I show you the MacBook Pro here, and let's put this to the side. And here it is. And you can see here, I mean, look, it's a beautiful display. Let's let me bring this down here. It's a mini LED display. I tried with the notch. Look, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm going to be honest with you. I know people say it's not a big deal. You can use a black background. I can't unsee it. I tried. I just don't know why they did this. Now, people love it. It's a really nice display. When you're on HDR, it can get very bright, obviously. When it's not on HDR, which is most of the time, it's going to get to over 500 nits, which is bright. I'm not going to complain about that. But again, they should be a little bit more clear on the marketing on that, but that's another story. But this notch, to me, especially since it doesn't have Face ID, what's the point of having that? I just don't know. Just make this symmetrical, or just take away the notch, maybe have a bar there like they had before, and that's it. And maybe have a thicker bezel. I don't know. I don't know how we're benefiting from the notch. I just don't see it. Maybe it's me. But anyway, it's a nice display. But here's the thing. It's improved in a lot of ways. We got the ports that were missing. You can sort of see it here next to the P1 over there. For $3,000 for the unit I have with tax and everything, I just can't, I can't make the move yet because I can't get the compatibility on certain plugins. Still not there in Final Cut Pro. I could use DaVinci Resolve on it, but again, I don't need to. I have this one. It's working fine. And I also have the Dell XPS 15 9510, which I'm using more and more. So I don't know. What do you think about it, Raphael? Is it possible to get used to the notch? I know it's hideous. I guess you can. I've been using it for the past couple of weeks. It's fine. I mean, look, it's not an end of the world kind of thing, but 1080p webcam, you don't have to have a notch. I don't understand this. You can have a 1080p webcam like in the Surface Pro 8. They put one in there. It's even a Windows Hello. That means it's an IR camera. It's face recognition. They couldn't do that on the MacBook Pro. I'm not really sure what the deal is on that. I only see 23 likes. What's the deal, people? We got almost 50 people watching today. Hit that like button. Also, super chats, super stickers are open. Memberships are open. Help support the channel. Helps keep the lights on. And here's an interesting story from Handquake, who's posting a story from ZDNet on the notch that was interesting. I'm going to take a look at that when we're done. He's saying, according to the Apple executive, said something extraordinary. You may think about this for days. I don't know. I need to read that article, but thanks for the link, Handquake. But, you know, I'm not a big fan of the notch. So according to Jay Kiyama, notch is due to better webcam. Would trade 720p, get rid of the notch? Would you trade? I'm not saying, I'm just saying put a 1080p webcam without a notch. Other OEMs have done it. They've proved it. I could show you the Surface Pro 8 right here today. It's one of the best. It's an excellent webcam, and it's a Windows Hello. Kind of disappointed in the color gamut results. Would thought it would have been higher, not as good as the 9510. No. So here's a couple of things. One thing, and I absolutely love about this, is the 120 hertz refresh rate. So when you're scrolling, look at this. I mean, it's just, you can see, it's hard to show it on a live stream, but it is very fluid, 120 hertz. Now it's dynamically, you know, dynamically changes. You can go here. Let's just go to YouTube or something like that. And I can show you when you're scrolling the 120 hertz, but I didn't get quite as good coverage of the color gamut as I did on the 9510. So, which is from Dell. And I thought that display on the Dell, despite it only being 60 hertz, and I don't think it matters when it comes to the stuff you're going to do with it, especially color grading and video editing and stuff like that, that got perfect coverage of the color gamut. I have not seen that. I don't know if I got lucky in the display jackpot lottery here, but I definitely thought that that was better. I also like OLED. Call me crazy. I mean, this is a beautiful display. I still prefer OLED. I think it's a much more vibrant in a way, but this is a beautiful display. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing this display. I'm just saying I like the Dell XPS 15. I also like the thinner bezels on the Dell XPS 15 as well. Now the webcam on that one is not very good, as we know that, but that's fine. I mean, look, again, the notch is there. We can't avoid it. It's there, and we have to live with it. Hoping you can review the Bridge keyboard for the Surface Pro 8. That would be nice. I'm going to reach out to Bridge. I looked into that a little bit. Hopefully we can. So the poll, and for those of you joining us late, we have a poll in the chat which says, should I do a full review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro? 61% said yes. 39% said no, which is a little bit surprising in the sense I thought it would be more yes than no, but judging by the amount of views I got on that video, I'm not surprised. Looks like OLED, but it's not. No, this is not. This doesn't look like OLED. I think, to me, I like this mini LED. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I think I like the OLED more. That's just me. That's my personal preference. And that XPS 159510, and I have it right here. So we have it here. Hope it has some juice so I could show you. It looks like it does. We could sort of get an idea of the differences between the two. And I'm not plugged in on it, by the way. So if we go, and I'm not really showing, I'm showing a dark background, but if you show a more vibrant background, let me see if I have another one that shows a little bit more color. That's pretty much all dark. I can go to a website, and you can actually see it here if I go to my video from yesterday. Let's see it here. So if I do a Surface Pro 8 search, let's see if my video comes up. Oh, look at that, #1. How do you like that? And I could put it on here. And we could sort of get an idea, and I'll get to your questions and comments in a moment. How does everything look, by the way, as far as the stream is going? Are we hearing me, seeing me okay? Let me know. I agree. I think the OLED looks better than the micro LED so far from what we've seen. And then if I go here, and we could sync them up in a moment here, but we can get an idea. And I'm glad there's no touch bar, by the way. I know some people like it. I don't know. I just thought it didn't bring that much value, to be honest. All right, so we're taking a look at them, and let me make sure this is as bright as it can go. And this is a little bit dirty, this display. I'm sorry, but anyway, you can get the idea. 4K Dolby digital quality stream. Yeah, thank you. That'll be nice. Apple is looking for OLED on the 2022 refresh of MacBooks, according to BGR. Yes, I heard the same. I read the same thing. Thank you for the comparison. No problem. So what we have here is the MacBook Pro, the M1 Pro chip on it, 16-inch. This is, next to it is the Dell XPS 15 9510 OLED, 3.5K display. I think they're very similar in terms of the resolution. So not too bad. I think that both are really good. Built by Samsung. Yeah, this one is built by Samsung. I don't know. Does Samsung make the MacBook display? I don't know about. Maybe they do. I don't know. What is the best 14-inch laptop from the ThinkPad outside the X1? Oh, that's a. We could have a whole live stream on that. We'll get back to that question soon. I'd have to think about that. There are a number of X13 maybe from ThinkPad is a nice one, but that's a 13-inch. You want 14-inch. The T14 line, the P14 if you want a mobile workstation. So there are a couple of them that we can look at. Mini LED beats OLED on HDR. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we could put some HDR, but I don't want to get a content strike or copyright strike, rather. So I can't really show it on the live stream. But I'm just looking at it. I just gravitate more towards the Dell XPS 15 9510's OLED display. Although this is a very good display, I'm just more. I don't know. I just find it more appealing to me. I don't know. It's just me. But anyway, how is everybody doing? If those of you joining us late, I want to let everybody know I took a couple of weeks off. And the reason I did that is because I needed to catch up on some of the reviews. So I did drop the Surface Pro 8 review yesterday. It's doing well. Let me take a look real quick. Right now, we're already at 6,200 views and counting and growing. So we'll see. We'll see how all that goes. And if you are joining us late, do me a favor, hit that like button. Thank you, Raphael. That would help get this spread out over YouTube. Share it to your social media. That would be much appreciated. Thank you so much. All right. So I think we get the idea. They're both nice displays. And I'm showing this in 4K. But the thing is, HDR, I would have to put on some HDR content, and I don't want to get a content or a copyright strike, as I mentioned. All right. So let's move on. But let me know, again, let's take a look at the poll. Right now, out of the 71 votes, and it's in the chat for those that didn't vote, you can vote. We'll take a look at the end what the final tally will be. But so far, 59% said yes, do a full review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro, and 41% said no. So not surprised. Again, didn't do well on my channel as far as that unboxing first look review. And everybody who did these videos, I guess their Mac focus channels did fantastic, which is not surprising. So there you go. Thank you, Ace. I appreciate that. Anybody? Yes, I did drop that Surface Pro 8 review. If you want to check it out after the live stream, head on over to my channel. I'll probably drop the link in this description below this live stream as well once I get a chance. No Apple computers. Okay. I think, and even and by the way, the ThinkBook, actually that's the ThinkBook 13X, which I'm really liking as an ultra portable. I have that full review coming. That did better than the MacBook Pro. The ThinkBook Pro, the ThinkBook 13X, if I could ever remember the name, Gen 1, did about 8,000, I guess, on my channel. That beat out, almost doubled the viewership of the MacBook Pro M1 Pro video that I did. All right. Good to see Cray. How are you? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. We haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad you are able to join us. Alder Lake Jeremy, good transition here. Alder Lake came out, i9, 12900K Geekbench scores, 18,551. Multi-core i7, 12,700. Multi-core, 15,384. i5, 12,600K. These are great numbers. So all three beat out the M1 Max in multi-core. Very bad news for Apple. Yes, very encouraging numbers so far that we're seeing from Alder Lake. Question is, how efficient will it be in a notebook in terms of a laptop form factor, which I'm hearing it will be efficient from inside sources. It's looking pretty good. But again, I don't have anything concrete. But I also want to say this. What Apple was able to do with the M1 chips in general, being so efficient, is very good in terms of the thermals and the cooling. So that is something that I'm impressed with Apple. But yes, the premature funeral or whatever everybody was saying about Intel a few weeks back, or even the past few months, was very premature. I think Alder Lake is going to be a very, very interesting chipset, and I can't wait to see that when it comes in. So there you go. All right. Curtis Howell, I choked on my popcorn at the Geekbench score of the new M1 MacBook Pro. Looking at the Surface Pro 8 for mobile car laptops. Appreciate the reviews. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that. I see we picked up a few dislikes. That's all right. 46 likes, people. 77 watching. I'd like to get that up to a 1-to-1 ratio. Do me a favor. All right. Commentary talk. Unless you need a Mac M1 Pro / Mac OS for professional creative work, your assessment is correct. A lot of money, and you cannot upgrade, as well as the limitations on software compatibility. All right, let's talk about it for a little bit. All right, so here's the deal, people, with the M1 MacBook Pros, with this professional versions, the M1 Pro, the M1 Max, in terms of the chips. I think commentary is bringing up a good point here. Unless you have very specific uses, especially for creatives, like myself, actually, I fall in that category that does high-end video editing and rendering and stuff like that, I would get the benefit of that. It is a high price to pay, there's no question, but I would be the one that would benefit. That I'm the type of user that it's geared towards, professional use and so forth. The average consumer, and for most people, don't need that extra horsepower. They don't need it. And not only that, you are foregoing certain aspects of a laptop that you can get on the Windows side of things. Let's talk about gaming, for instance. If you are a gamer, do not, and I repeat, do not get any of these MacBooks at all. These are not gaming laptops. There's not enough titles that are going to take advantage of this. They're not optimized for gaming. I would look at specific gaming laptops from either Alienware, Razer, Asus, Acer, you know what I'm talking about. And I want to thank Handquake for the super chat, $5. You got it, my friend. I'm glad to help. We could help you even more. We could talk about it a little bit later as well if we have time. And also, if you are a MacBook Pro, thinking about getting it rather, you cannot upgrade it. Now, I just showed you in a video, 2 videos ago, the video before the one I just dropped, is of course the ThinkPad P1 Gen 4 mobile workstation. And I can show it to you in a moment. That one is highly upgradable. You got 2 slots for SSDs, 2 slots for the particular unit I have for upgrading the RAM, right? You cannot do that on the Mac. You cannot upgrade the RAM. You cannot do any of those things. And that is a problem, I think, down the road. You'd have to buy a whole new, very expensive machine rather than having the ability to upgrade it and getting more longevity out of the product. So that is just something to consider. The other things you're going to have to consider is Mac OS. Not everybody wants to be using Mac OS. Some people like Windows 11. Some people want to run Linux. Again, you don't have that versatility on this. Now, of course, you could run Parallels in an emulation mode or whatever they're using, and that's just not going to be the same because you're going to be running Windows on ARM, and that has its own issues we know about. So in the end of the day, the MacBook Pro 16 or the 14, either with the M1 Pro or the M1 Max chip, is a very niche product in a way for very specific professional use, not for the average consumer. I think if you are in the Mac camp, look at the M1 Air or the M1 Pro MacBook Pro 13 that was late last year. I think that's more than enough for most people at this point. Again, very, very expensive. These are very, very expensive devices. According to Raphael, the Mac M1 Pro is super expensive, which might throw off the mainstream consumer. Yeah, and by the way, so is the P1 Gen 4. And again, that's a very specific targeted product towards professionals, right? That's going to be towards those who are using specific professional applications with ISV certifications and stuff like that. So you get the drift. All right. And I want to thank Handquake again, that super chat, getting things started here. I really appreciate that. You say you benefit, but doesn't your Mac Pro from 2019 still meet your creative needs? And that is a very good point. And that is the reason I am not upgrading at this point, because there is no reason for me to. This is fully paid off. Okay, I paid $3,000 a couple of years ago, but it's more than paid for itself already. I tried to switch to the new one, which I have here, but it just is not, the M1 chip is not, has not been updated for the plugins that I need, and therefore I can't make the videos that I normally make with it. I'm not going to compromise my video style just because I have to conform to the tool here. The tool should conform to my needs. It should be the opposite, right? Cray saying the M1 Max would have been powerful enough for my use, but I wanted more ports. I chose the 16 because I wanted the extra screen for video editing. I agree on that choice. It's not for everyone. I agree. So the good news is, of course, that they did bring in a lot of the ports that were missing, and we could take a quick look at it. And let me move this over a little bit. And you could sort of see it here. So we got the MagSafe is back, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, they're there. You've got a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. Nice to see that Apple kept that. And then on this side, you get a full-size SD card reader. This is how far they sit flush. They do not go all the way in, so it sticks out a little bit. You can see there. And then you have a USB-C port. I don't think that's Thunderbolt. Oh, no, that is a Thunderbolt 4 port. And then a HDMI 2.0. And by the way, this is a UHS, it's UHS 2, I think, slower on the SD card, not the faster UHS 3. And this is HDMI 2.0, not 2.1. So you can do 4K 60, not 4K 120. Another trade-off there. Why they did that, I'm not sure. Maybe they needed the bandwidth for other things in this motherboard and so forth. I don't know. But that's the port selection there. Handquake says the weird thing is almost nobody, percentage-wise, needs something other than a MacBook Air. And I agree. I think they're so expensive that, yes, they are very niche products in the end. And I think anybody who's looking at it just for the sake of buying it, if you have that kind of cash to burn, God bless you. But I think most people would be more than suited to buy the M1 Air or the 13-inch MacBook Pro from late 2020, because I think those will more than enough fulfill your needs. For normal MacBook users, Pro 13 or the MacBook Air is enough. I agree. According to Olaf, he almost got the MacBook Air M1 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but got the Galaxy Book Pro 360 13 instead. You did not like it very much. Works out for my use 100%. No, I liked it. I just don't like the 16:9 aspect ratio. I liked everything about it. And I also thought the 13-inch needed to be a little bit brighter in terms of the screen brightness. But it's a beautiful display, don't get me wrong. And I did like it, don't get me wrong. It's just that I prefer a 16:10 aspect ratio at this point. Maybe they'll transition next year. We'll see what Samsung does. $3,000, I had no idea they cost that much. Yes, Ace. It depends on the SKU you go. They start, I think, about $2,500. I think that's the 8-core version. But if you want 10 cores and above and the higher core GPU options, it gets very, very expensive. I mean, you could spend $6,000, $7,000 all said and done when you deck these out. Very, very expensive. There's no question. We've got 72 of you watching. Okay. So, Crazy asking, are you going to do a comparison between the 2019 MacBook Pro and the new one? I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the review of this one right here. I'm going to do it Probably this week I'll get it out. But then at that point, I'm going to have to see because, you know, I didn't get quite a number of views that I expected on it. And it is a very expensive device. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. And probably not going to keep it. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. That's nearly $3,000 that I paid. I think over $3,000 with tax. Or almost just about $3,000 with tax here in Nevada. And I'm within the return period. I don't know if I'm going to keep this, to be honest with you, because this one it does everything I need it to do. I don't think I get any more benefit out of this. Maybe it's few seconds faster in certain things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's worth it to spend an additional $3,000. I got no return on this investment. I got very little views on it. So we'll have to see. Maybe I will do it, but I don't think I'll be hanging on to it. Even though I like it, don't get me wrong, I do like it. I just don't think it justifies the price tag for my needs. That's just me. And I think most people, again, like I said, will be better off getting an M1 Air or a 13-inch MacBook Pro from late 2020. I don't think they need to go this route unless you have a very specific use case scenario that is for professional work, such as video editing and stuff like that, then you can justify it. But other than that, I can't even do it, and I do that kind of work. So there you go. So according to Cray, the 14-inch starts at $2,000, okay. And again, a lot of people would be fine with that one. But then the 16-inch starts at $2,500. And $2,500 at that price point, you're not getting a lot of storage. I think it's what, 512? Or maybe it's a terabyte, I don't know. I think for $27.99, which is the one I got, has a terabyte of storage. And it's a 10-core, right? Those are 10-core processors on the 16-inch. What do you think would be the M1 Air, M1 Pro alternatives in the current ThinkPad lineup? Well, I'm a big fan, and if you saw my channel, I know the X1 Carbon Gen 9, which, by the way, is my #1 video in terms of views this year. I think we have 120,000 views and rising. I get a lot of views each month on it, and it's in the running for a laptop of the year in that 14-inch category. I would look at that. Not cheap, but you can get those on sale as well. So look at that one. Andrew, and also you might want to look at the Dell XPS 13 9310 with the OLED, or if you want to go to the 15, the 9510 with OLED, that's another one I like. There's so many on the Windows side of things. And the ThinkBooks, again, very good as well. Andrew, I liked your video a couple of days ago. The MSI Summit E13 Evo seems like a good 2-in-1. Are they going to make a 15 or 16-inch version of that? Yes, speaking of which, they're sending me the Creator 16 laptop. That's coming. That's going to be an interesting one. And they also are sending me the 16-inch version of that Summit, the E16, I think, Summit Flip, whatever they call it, Evo. That one is going to have, I believe, a discrete GPU on that one. I'm not sure which discrete GPU it has, but they're sending that to me. And I like that very, very much. I think that's definitely one of the best 2-in-1s I've reviewed in a long time. For those that didn't see it, check it out after the live stream. Go over to my channel. It's the MSI Summit E13 Flip Evo. It's a 2-in-1 convertible, 16:10 aspect ratio. It's got a beautiful 120 hertz full HD plus display, 1920 by 1200. Beautiful display, very bright. I think I measured over 500 nits on that. Great pen support on that. Uses the Microsoft Pen protocol. Loving that. And I have it here somewhere. I could probably show it if we have time. But anyway, there you go. Now, according to Handquake, those prices are in the U.S. Some of our viewers who aren't in the States would tell you they are not that lucky. Yeah. So Apple's pricing varies region to region, and they can get very expensive. They're expensive here. I can only imagine what it is in Europe and in Asia and everywhere else, the Middle East. Apple's notorious for their pricing. It's supposed to have the MagSafe and a Thunderbolt 4 on each side, white keyboard colors. Is that something that's coming? It's supposed to have a MagSafe. Okay, that would be good. Maybe that's an upcoming laptop. I'm joining midstream on your chat there. Okay. If you didn't have a laptop right now, which would you buy? Agent 091, how are you, my friend? That's a good question. If I had to put my own money right now, I probably would buy for me personally, the Dell XPS 15 9510. I like it that much. I know people are down on Dell when it comes to customer service and quality control over the past couple of years. I have not had any issues with it. I've absolutely loved this device. I have it here, obviously. I use it every day, and I'm gravitating to it more and more. So I like that OLED display. I have the Core i9, more than enough for my needs, and it has the RTX 3050 Ti, more than enough for my needs. So there you go. You got it, my friend. Agent 091. And he loves his XPS 15 9500. Yeah, do me a favor, people. Thanks, Raphael. Hit that like button. We got 81 of you watching, 83 of you watching, 62 likes. Let's take a look at the poll. Very interesting as things heat up here. I posted this poll 57 minutes ago. It's in the chat. If you didn't vote, we have 122 votes so far. You still have until the end of the live stream. And we are now already 38 minutes into it. I'm probably going to stick to an hour today. 57% said yes. They want to see me do a full review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro. And then 42% said no. Very, very interesting. And again, I have to be very careful how I devote my time in terms of these reviews because I have so many laptops here that I still didn't get to, that I'm starting to catch up on. But I have to be very, very careful not to post videos that people don't want to see. Now, if this poll, and this is just a sample fraction of my audience, and I'm asking you, should I do a full review? Only 60% said yes, which I thought would be a lot more. So we'll see. So that new laptop that Craig Ray's talking about will be probably in the spring, like last year. So that would probably be an update, right, to the ones we saw late fall from last year, I guess. So there you go. And by the way, for those that didn't see my review of the MSI Summit E13 Flip Evo, Raphael was kind enough to paste a link into the chat for you to check it out. All right, I appreciate that. Yes, and by the way, that 2-in-1, you know, views or no views aside, that was still one of my favorite 2-in-1s. I begrudgingly had to send it back to MSI. I only had it for a limited amount of time. So, but they are sending me some new stuff this week, so stay tuned. I have some good stuff from MSI. I like what they're doing on their business line. Very, very impressive. Sort of flying under the radar kind of thing. Yes, YouTube is definitely flooded with new MacBook Pro videos, Andy. I mean, and that's probably, I'm a victim of that. When I posted my unboxing video, that's probably why I didn't get many views on that, because it got buried in the algorithm, not surprisingly. And I always get burned by Apple. Every time I do an Apple product, I seem to get burned in the by the algorithm. So there are Apple-specific channels that will get all the views. The bigger channels, the MKBHDs, the whatevers, they're going to get the views. That's fine. I get the views for my specific niche products that I review, the ThinkBooks, the ThinkPads, the Dells. I do very well in those regard, you know, the HPs. So those do pretty well. So I have no complaints here. Things are looking good at the channel. By the way, for those wondering, I am about to hit 120,000 views, 120,000 subscribers. That's going to come in the next week or so. So that should be interesting. My goal for the year was 120,000. So if we can hit that goal, I would be a very good accomplishment. I appreciate all the support, everybody coming every week watching the live streams, watching the videos. I do appreciate it. According to Ravi, the Apple environment means big time money, right? Years of paying money to Apple. And that's what they want you to do, right? So you're in their walled garden. Everything they do is the halo effect, so to speak. You buy the phone, you need to get the watch, you need to get the laptop, you need to get the tablet, the iPad. I mean, it's just one thing after another. And now they want to sell you, is it a $20 cleaning cloth that is so special and magical that it will clean everything so beautifully that, like, it's magic, right? So everybody who bought that cleaning cloth, I salute you. I salute you. You did a good thing by buying that cleaning cloth. But it is a special cleaning cloth. I should say that. All right. Andrew, Jeremy's asking, would you choose the Surface Pro 8 over the Acer Swift X with a Ryzen 5800U and the the 3050 Ti, the RTX 3050 Ti? Here's the problem I have with the Swift X, which I absolutely love. I don't like and I believe that's 16:9. Correct me if I'm wrong. If If I'm wrong, let me know. But I believe that was 16:9, right? And I have it here. I'm looking at it. I should know this right off the top of my head. There's two different form factors. And I think with the Surface Pro 8, what you're getting here is a different kind of device. Hold on. So this is a detachable device. And I don't need it plugged in. And it's really a very specific type of device. What it does is it allows you some versatility you don't get with something like the Acer Swift X. I think this is you got the detachable keyboard. We don't need that. And you can see I can detach it. I can do all sorts of things here. And by the way, super strong. This is not going anywhere. So I think what you're looking at here is a very versatile device. I love the 120 hertz. I love the display here. The only thing I'm not crazy about is that there's no anti-reflective coating on it, so you're going to see a lot of reflections with this, as you probably see here with my studio lights. So that's probably one negative on that. But most things I love about this is the improved keyboard. It's a much sturdy, even on an angle. As you see, when you're typing, it's very rigid. It doesn't feel like you get that bounce like you had before. I like the improved pen here. I like the fact that it stores and charges within the keyboard cover. So the pen has haptic feedback, has almost like a carpenter style pen. And I thought it worked really well. It felt really, I know the marketing terms like pen to paper and stuff like that. I thought it was very good in terms of that inking experience. I thought it was very good. All right. But so that was just to answer your question. Would I choose that over the Swift X? It just depends on what I'm doing. I like them both, but I like the 3:2 aspect ratio of the Surface. And then we're going to get right now to the P4, everybody. But yeah, so this has been pretty good. Let's bring in the P4 before it gets too late. I meant to do this earlier, but here we go. And we'll put these over here. And what we have here is obviously the P4, which is the workstation. And again, what I like about it, not too heavy, 3.99 pounds for this model. And this, by the way, is 1.8 kilograms. But this, by the way, is physically the same as the X1 Extreme Gen 4 that we looked at. So you're getting the really great keyboard. Now, 1.5 millimeters of key travel on this, on the P1, same as the X1 Extreme Gen 4. Some people criticize the X1 Extreme Gen 4 for not having the same key travel like it used to have. I don't find it actually a downgrade. I think this is an excellent keyboard. I find it very comfortable to type on. Still, to me, one of the best keyboards, if not the best keyboard in the market, especially for business users. I think you're going to love this. There is no numpad, by the way. And you can see the laptop here. We've got the QHD display here, 2560 by 1600. We're looking at a 16:10 aspect ratio. And I think overall has been great. Now, I still need to do the thermal testing on this. Let's talk about that for a moment, because what we have here is, let me get a little bit tighter shot here, is without a vapor chamber cooling. Now, this is very different than the X1 Extreme Gen 4. Now, what I reviewed with the X1 Extreme Gen 4 was that one with the RTX 3060 GPU. That meant that there was no room for an extra SSD slot, and there was no room for the optional 5G because it has vapor chamber cooling. This one, if you saw my video, doesn't have that issue because, and I'll plug this in so we can get a look at the video a little bit, but the reason this doesn't have it is because this has the RTX A2000 GPU, which is a mobile workstation class GPU. Doesn't need it. And now I'm going to test the thermals. I still need to do it. That's going to be happening this week for the full review. But if I go into the video, let me go there, and let me go ThinkPad. Let's do a search here. And if I go to the P1 Gen 4, let's see where my video is in. I'm number 2. And then if I click that, and I can skip around the video, but I want to show you the internals here. All right, let me bring myself onto the screen here. So on the left is the X1 Extreme Gen 4. On the right is the ThinkPad P1 Gen 4. And as you can see, the vapor chamber cooling is in this area. I'm using my pointer there. So this is the vapor chamber cooling. You can see it covering a certain amount of area on there on the laptop. And on this one, you'll see here, this doesn't have it. So that means you have the SSD over here, and you have space for a second SSD. Now this PCIe Gen 4, by the way, very fast reads and writes, as I showed. There are 2 RAM slots here, and they are rank 8. That means that the faster RAM running in dual channel mode. I have a whopping 64 gigabytes of ECC RAM, 3200, DDR4, 3200 RAM on this. Very, very fast RAM. And it supports up to the 64. So I maxed this out with my review unit, the one they sent me. And as you can see here, this is rank 8. That is the faster RAM. So that's good to see, especially, of course, at this price point. This is a $4,000 laptop over at CDW, if you can find one. And so no vapor chamber cooling. I still need to test the thermals. I'm going to do that this week. We'll see. And here's that PCIe Gen 4. Very fast reads and writes. And by the way, if you saw the video I did on the Surface Pro 8, I wish one thing that Microsoft would do rather, is put in a faster SSD in their Surface line, and especially in the Pro line. That got barely 1,000 in terms of the writes, got over 2,000 in the reads. So I would like to see a move towards faster SSDs in the next iteration. That's just for my own consideration here, but I definitely think they need to go faster on that. All right, so according to APM, building one to spec, I need an estimated 3 to 4 weeks, X1, X1 Extreme. So, yes, so problems finding these laptops. They are built to order, some of them. Obviously, certain SKUs are ready to go, although there are some delays. Hopefully, we'll start seeing that change. I don't know with this holiday season what the deal is as far as supply, but we'll see. But so far, I'm liking the P1. Now the question becomes, and I think somebody asked it earlier, do you go with the P1 or do you go with the X1 Extreme, and does it make a difference with the vapor chamber cooling? And the question is, I don't know yet until I do that formal testing on it. But so far, my feeling is, if you need an extra SSD slot or want to have an extra SSD slot or want to have optional 5G, then there's no question you go with that A2000 type GPU. And I don't know with the higher A series in these mobile workstations if those have vapor chamber cooling, because I only sent this one, and this one doesn't have the vapor chamber cooling, as you see here. So not clear cut on that, but if anybody knows the answer, whether or not they do have that, that's the other thing. Now, one thing to note, now this does have, and I can bring in this shot here. So on this side, and I don't know if you can see it here, but I'm going to try to move it here. So this has 2, and I'm using one of them, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. Now, if you don't have enough power to get into these, this will not charge the laptop. But somebody was telling me in the comments, if you have if you have over like 100 watts of power, whatever it may be, that will trigger charging on those. But I cannot independently confirm that. But this is where you're going to charge it with the proprietary power port from Lenovo. So just for those wondering, you might be able to charge it with USB-C, just with the right charger. I don't have one. I haven't been able to do that. So according to Daniel, the A3000 would have the higher GPU. It's a higher end GPU, would have the vapor chamber cooling. So that would be more of an equivalent to, say, a 3060 maybe, right, Daniel? And then maybe the one above that, I think it was the A5000 or whatever it is, would be more equivalent to a 3080 on the consumer side. So I think you're probably right, Daniel. But this one, I'm glad they sent me this one, because this one is the one that will give you the options for having that extra SSD and so forth. Now, the other thing to note, the CPU performance on this which is a Xeon processor, 11855M or something like that, wasn't the best I've ever seen. But again, it's very optimized. This is a very specific product optimized at professionals that use very specific professional applications that have ISV certifications. And those work very well for this, and those will benchmark very well. I'm trying to get some benchmarks to do on that for the full review. But when you run the standard benchmarks, that more mainstream benchmarks, Geekbench and all that, you won't score as high. And remember, this is not a gaming laptop. You're not going to buy this for gaming. You can play games on it. I'll show you in the video, again, if you have the right settings on. One time, real quick, the 1080p mic on the Surface. So the 1080p webcam on the Surface Handquake was excellent. The mics, the dual far field mics that I took a look at on that, I wasn't crazy about. And I said that, I think, at the end of the video. I said, you know, it wasn't the best. It wasn't terrible, but it felt a little too compressed, a little too, just didn't have the richness that I was hoping it would have. But not terrible on the Surface Pro 8. I thought they did a good job eliminating the noise in the background as far as noise cancellation. I thought it did a good job in that regard. Maybe it overcompensated. That was the problem. But the video quality was very good. Very good on that. Now, speaking of that, we could look at the video real quick on here as far as the camera on the P1 Gen 4. So the Surface Pro 8, I showed you in that video. For those that didn't see it, is an excellent camera. Both the front and the back will get the job done. Now, this one, let's go to the camera here. And I want to show you this one. This is a 1080p, and we could probably just go here. 1080p webcam here. Let me adjust it a little bit. I thought it was good. Now, I have a lot of lights here, so just take that into consideration. It might be overblowing things here. It might be blowing it out. But I thought it was good, and I thought the microphones were decent on this as far as the internal mic. So, again, cameras are important here as we end 2021, going into 2022. A lot of hybrid working, some partially at home, partially in the office. You need to have the ability to connect. We need to have good videos. Good to see you, Olaf, the 100-pound Hank the dog, insisting I take him for a walk. Hank the dog, go for your walk. Have a good time, Olaf. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Handquake. And 1080p looks perfect. So this is a good example, by the way, for those asking on the MacBook Pro, oh, you needed the notch. Well, here's an example of a 1080p IR webcam, so you can use face recognition on this laptop. And right here, I wouldn't mind having a little bit of a bezel if it meant having ability to log in with face recognition and the ability to have a good webcam. So no compromise here. Good in that regard. And here's the actual camera itself. You could see it here. I think it's good. Let me know what you guys think about it in the chat, in the comment section below. Let's take a look at our poll. And our poll says 61% with 153 votes, 61%, yes, they want to see me do the M1 Pro MacBook Pro 16 review, and 39% said no. Pretty much as I expected, I guess. I don't know. Mador saying that the 1080p should be the new standard of camera. I think it is at this point. If we see any 720p in 2022, they're getting a negative con in my pros and cons section, that's for sure. No more 720p are going to be accepted at this point, especially on the top tier laptops. I agree, Daniel. I think it's a solid camera. No notch needed. Maybe we should just get a t-shirt saying no notch needed, and I can market that, right? You heard it here first. No notch needed. Thank you, Raphael. That's our new slogan at the hashtag no notch needed. Yeah, all kidding aside, I mean, the fact of the matter is these bezels are not terrible, and they put a good camera in here. That's the bottom line, right? So to me, that's a win. So let's see. Let's go. Here, let me try this. Okay, there we go. So you can see the camera here on my right, and of course, this is my main camera for the live stream. Okay. Oh, how about, here's another question from Henry. How about the P1 Gen 4 compared to the X1 Extreme Gen 4? Any difference? So physically, they're pretty much the same, other than the fact if you get the vapor chamber cooling or not. We can have a whole nother conversation on that, as we said. But physically, from the exterior, it's the same. You can see it here. And I have it here. I could probably bring it here, but it's the same. There's no reason to show it. Physically, there is no difference. The only thing I would say is the difference is going to be in the CPU, GPU combinations. And by the way, you could get the same CPU, GPU combination on the P1. It just happens they sent me over the one with the Xeon and the A2000 GPU, the RTX A2000. Cray saying, I've been impressed with the MacBook Pro's webcam, but I didn't notice a bigger difference coming from a Surface Pro. And I think the Surface devices in general have been excellent when it comes to the cameras. And that's been the case since the Surface Book that I had, the original Surface Book, which I thought was fantastic. And going forward, I thought they did a good job on the laptops, and they did a good job, obviously, on the Pro line. So I think Microsoft had a number of years to really get these perfected, and I think they've done a good job on it for sure. They need to be commended on that. Can you recommend any laptops with an Intel Xeon under 2000? Oh, that's going to be tough because these are, professional grade processors that are kind of expensive. And again, they're geared towards a very specific markets. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you're going to spend way more than that. So I'd have to think about that. Let me think about it and get back to you. Andrew, should we wait for the Ryzen 6000 mobile CPU? Do you have any idea if they're going to be nearly 20% faster than the 5000? What about Intel 12th Gen? And those are the big questions that we're asking right now, especially with the Alder Lake coming, that 12th Gen Intel processor. I want to see how those are going to do as far as on a mobile chip, as far as, laptops and stuff like that. So far, we're just starting to see them in desktops, and the numbers are looking fantastic. Let's see what it looks like on a laptop, and then we can start making some assessments. But the early indications are, and my inside information is, it's looking good, efficiency-wise and power-wise. Now, here's the other thing. With the Ryzens, again, the 6000 series, I don't know anything about them, and I don't know if we're going to expect a 20% bump. I would expect we should. Year over year wouldn't be unreasonable to think that we'd get a 20% bump. Hopefully we will. Okay, hopefully we will. But the takeaway I have is that, everybody rushed to conclusions to have a funeral for Intel, not so much for AMD, but a funeral for Intel with these M1 Pro, M1 Max chips. And the reality is, now that I've used this M1 Pro MacBook Pro for a week or so, the luster the bloom has gone off the rose, so to speak, and the reality has set in. Is it that much better than the Intel-based Macs? It is. It's more efficient. They're cooler. The fans don't run hardly at all. But really, in the end of the day, you're spending all that money. Is it that much better? Probably not. I mean, the reality is when you're doing the same kind of tasks, yeah, you'll save a few seconds here and there, maybe a minute here and there. Is it worth spending an absorbent amount of money for it? Probably not. So, and then, of course, you have to contend with the notch, which I'm not, again, I don't want to harp on it. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something that's kind of annoying, to be honest with you. And then it's not for the mainstream person in terms of the average consumer. These are professional grade tools, right? That are very specifically targeted towards. So if you're going to spend that kind of money, you better have a use case scenario, in my opinion. Funeral for Intel. Very premature. I think we're going to be very, very pleased with the Alder Lake 12th Gen from Intel. I think we're going to be very pleased with what AMD has up its sleeve for the 6000 series Ryzen. So we'll see. It's stable enough with Windows 11. I've only had one catastrophic crash. Interesting, it was a green screen of death. So yeah, I haven't had any crashes on the units that I've been running Windows 11. So pretty stable for the most part. So that's interesting that you had a crash there. Interesting to what caused it. We should probably find out. According to Internet Saint Maurice, about the M1 Pro, putting on a notch is a lifestyle choice. It's like being a man takes a mustache. I confirm you can be a man without it, and then since it's more pleasant to kiss. Okay. Oh boy. Some of these comments are funny. I'd like to see if there's any YouTube reviews for the Surface Pro 8 for photo editing specifically. Yeah, there might be. I don't know. Maybe I can do one, but I'm so short on time right now. We'll see. All right, the other question is, if you're showing most of these laptops that come with Windows 10, will they have any performance problems with Windows 11, at least initially? That's the big question. That's a good point. I got my first laptop in, and I could probably show it to you right now. So I got my first laptop in from an OEM running Windows 11 out of the box, other than the Surface Pro 8 and the Surface Laptop Studio. So I have this. This is the... and we could take your comment off for now. This is the Vector 16. No, I'm sorry. What is this? The Victus. The HP Victus 16 from HP, which used to be their entry-level gaming laptops. And I got to tell you, this is an all-plastic kind of device, but it's not a bad-feeling device at all. Got a really great keyboard on it. Not ostentatious, not overly gaudy with the big lights and all this. Very straightforward gaming laptop, good performance. I got the Core i7-11800H on this. I got the RTX 3060 on this. And I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with this. I'm going to have a review on this very soon. The only thing it has is like a little bit of a wobbly screen here. Let me see if I have juice on it. And it's a matte display. It's also 144 hertz as far as the refresh rate at 1080p, but you can get this in a higher refresh rate as well. So it's been good so far. And this is the first one running Windows 11 from a review unit that I got. All right, so, and I hate this. How do I get out of this? Let me try to close this. The bloatware is one thing I got to talk to HP about. I'm not happy about it. But this is the Victus 16-inch gaming laptop from HP, and I got to say, good so far. I will have a review on this, a little bit of a preview here. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. And what I really like, if you check out the back of it, the ventilation here has been excellent. You can see it there. It's a pretty nice design, although I got to clean it. It's the Victus, and then you can see here, this is a 16-inch gaming laptop, some vents over there. And then on this side, there's some more ports. You got a full-size SD card reader, a 3.5 millimeter headset jack, a USB-C port. I don't think that's Thunderbolt. Then you got USB-A, HDMI 2.1, and then you have Ethernet. A lot of good ports on this. You don't need the Thunderbolt in the sense that you have a good GPU on this. So I think we're okay on that. It has a numpad for those that want it. Is Windows 11 good for gaming? Yeah, why not? I haven't had any issues. I've been testing this. It's been good so far. Excuse me. So far, so good. Are you doing video editing all day, every day? I am. If you're asking me, Craig, you know that I am. So I use, I've been using more and more my Dell XPS 159510 with DaVinci Resolve. It's been working great for color grading, and that's one of the reasons I've been using that. All right, we got 83 of you watching right now. We've got 92 likes, so that's pretty good. We got our likes up. Hit that like button, people. No problem, Raphael. Great live stream as usual. Where are we? We're at over an hour. Okay, I went over the time. Is that the old Omen? Well, Carl, this is the, we can show you here. This is what used to be the HP gaming laptop. Now they've rebranded it to the Victus line, and you can see the branding here. Over here, it's like a V shape here. And it's actually kind of nice, although the little screen wobble is kind of annoying, but I'll address that in the video coming on this. It's got a reflective V here for the Victus, but pretty nice value, actually. I think they start at about $799, and I think for that price, for a student or for a young child or somebody who doesn't want to spend $2,000-3,000 on a gaming laptop, I think this offers a lot for bang for the buck, and I think this is going to be a good value, especially during the holiday season. So I will have this video this week on this. So again, the HP Victus 16 gaming laptop. All right. I think we're going to come to a close here, people. We're over an hour. We have 98 likes. Let's hit 2 more. Let's get to 100. If we can get to 100, it'll be great. Let's do a final tally over at the chat here. Should I do a full review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro? 171 votes, 62 said yes, 38% said no. So most people want to see it. According to Christine, yes, you like the Victus. Looks like a good value for a home laptop. Absolutely. It's been really, really impressive for the price to performance ratio. Have a good day, William. We're going to wrap it up here. It's okay. You're going to still be okay with that laptop. I reviewed that one. It was good as well. Good day, Handquake, and that is my cue. So I want to thank the moderators for doing a great job. It was good to see everybody. I know I took that hiatus, a little bit of a break, trying to catch up on some reviews, trying to catch up on some rest. So I want to thank everybody once again for stopping by. It was a nice live stream. I will be back again next week, and I may do a after dark show this week, one of these evenings. Stay tuned. Make sure you have the subscriptions, the notification bell hit. Make sure you want to get notified of all my upcoming videos and live streams. They are coming this week. So until next time, everybody, I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.